Hi, good morning, good day, whatever's good, wherever you at, it's all good. I wanted to talk about one of my things that I've been really working on is multitasking, and I released my first comic book this year. Bravo. Actually, it's a conglomeration of other ones that I had released or I had drawn and never released. Released bits and pieces of it, and I put it all together. So that feels good. Having to get that out was a lot longer than what I thought. I had to learn how to do a little bit of photoshopping and things like that to help make it to get the pages together. So it took a little bit longer. That process pushed me back in terms of my overall work schedule and writing my books. This book that I'm working to put out now, the sequel to the Harlem Shake, the second book in the Harlem Shake series, was finished in August. But because of me doing the comic book, I'm trying to get this third movie, The Death Pledge, distributed, edited properly, or just finish the editing. It got pushed back, and I'm just giving you a window into my world because I do comic books, I do books, and I do film. I actually wanted to do a video game. I may do and I may not do. I don't know. And it's a little bit not. It's just you got to be organized. Part of me getting this movie out, I talked to a distributor, and they, of course, like publishers, they want to talk. What else you got? You got this movie. Are you a filmmaker, or did you just make a film? And or did you write a book, or are you writing books? Because they want to know what else you got. If they like that, they want more. So I talked to them about a sequel, and it was, that's good. What about the sequel? What does the sequel look like? And a couple of factors. One, I had a story idea, but I didn't have an outline, and I don't have a script. So I'm multitasking now. So I just finished, right before Thanksgiving, the final edit on my sequel to Harlem Shake, and I'm formatting that now to upload it to Kindle and Amazon for it to be available on demand, which is really cool. So now that process has changed, and it's my first book in a while that I'm uploading. So I'm learning again how to do that with the updates. But then I have to find space to get this screenplay and the story done, which I may write next week. I have a little story, but my process is simple, and I'm not really simple, but I love to tell people my stories. I was thinking about putting it on Facebook or Instagram. Who has time to listen to me tell them a story? And that's really all it is. My ideas get shaped by me telling people. Of course, my son and my wife and my friends, they get worn out. But that's how I do it, and telling multiple people. Because unless you're telling somebody with a tape recorder and is an amazing writer, ain't nobody gonna really be able to steal your idea. And it's not like I'm selling it on social media. If I'm telling it to the person, that's limiting it already, unless I'm like, a stage performer and I'm telling it at a concert. I know one at a time, two at a time, it's not going to be stolen. Or it's very hard, and I would know the person, who took the idea. I mean, of course, they can tell it to somebody else, but then it starts to get watered down. And the good thing about, with your stories is you. We laugh at this Robin Hood movie. I'm probably going to go see that tonight because I don't know any other movie that came out that I want to see. But, this is like that fifth Robin Hood, you were the one with Dave Chappelle. You had Kevin Costner. You had the one that I like, with my man, from Gladiator. You had him, and now you have this Jamie Foxx one with my man from the Kingsman, and it looks cool. A lot of people is upset. What do you call it? They keep remaking, they keep doing these stories. Well, first of all, I don't know. I think Robin Hood is in public domain. Not to mention, Robin Hood is a major brand. He's like Christopher Columbus story. Not that we do Christopher Columbus movies. It's just such a folklore grounded in European culture that it is really cool. But like with me, I used to tell a joke that a story about 3 of my comedians that had a joke, and 2 of them were fighting over it. Happened to be a 3rd comedian's joke, and they all told it different, or they all were mad because they wanted to tell it the same way. And I tell people, nobody can tell if you spend time, nobody's going to tell a story if you write it out, a joke or whatever, the same way you're going to tell it. You have to bring you to whatever you tell. So like when I'm talking to the distributors, I'm Jeff Carroll, right? So every story that I write, now I have legs under me, so you can start to see what characteristics are mine. It's like Tyler Perry has a couple of styles. He had the religious themes that was part of his marquee, but he also has a drama side. He doesn't always paint women the same way as the rest of Hollywood does. Spike Lee, we all know he has visual style, and he has a storytelling style that's also like unique. So it may be a variety of things. Like with me, my style is always some social political, some table conversation, some graduated argument, that or what if, I'm writing science fiction. And to be honest, you got to dance a little to learn your style, to develop your style. So for me, I've had to write stories to actually find out what my style was. So if I was to write a Robin Hood story, come on now, it's going to be different than the ones that you've seen. Of course, I'm a black sci-fi writer, so I'm going to research and build up the Morgan Freeman, the Jamie Foxx character, the more. He had to do, more than just train Robin Hood, you know what I'm saying? And it's a brilliant character, to sidekick. So for me, I would look for some undisclosed part of historical fact that I can bring to the story. And, of course, we know what Robin Hood is doing. Now, you could take Robin Hood and you could take it like they did Winona Earp, that TV show on Sci-Fi Channel, and you could take it to the future, and you could take it. I think she's post-apocalyptic future with vampires or whatever, and she threw that element in there. I was also thinking of like Harriet Tubman in the future. You could do Robin Hood in the future. You could do Robin Hood in London. in America. You could change the setting. You just got to make it good. Now, none of those may sound sold totally good or bad, but if you get the right writer, shoot, I'll make it real hot. So renditions is always a good look. You know what I'm saying? Your take on it. Okay, I want to write a Frankenstein story. I believe Frankenstein is public domain. There's a lot of them that are, public domain. It almost reminds me, think of fan fiction, but fan fiction is you using characters stories and brands that you can't sell because they actually are somebody else's at the time. But when you're looking in the public domain, think Dr. Jekyll is a public domain. Those are like brands that you could tap into, and if you have your different take on it, do it. I don't have a problem with that. I do have a problem with trying to do it the same as everybody else. If you're going to do one of those things, you really got to be unique and original. You know what I'm saying? I was talking to Keith Wade, you know, one of the actors down here. He's in my movie. He's my local thespian, right? And we were talking about he put a post up of Michael B. Jordan complaining, or not complaining, just citing that he had to go to therapy. He got so into the Killmonger character that he had to go to therapy after that. And you know, and I respect that. You know, on that note, I'm like, yeah, maybe it would have been hard for him to get into a Killmonger character, but there's people, especially black men, that's already Killmongers. You know, somebody like take Joe Madison. Yo, he ain't got to. If he was to play a Killmonger, Dr. Umar, some of these other guys, we call them Hoteps, conscious community, they wouldn't have no problem being Killmonger. But somebody like Michael B. Jordan, who's very welcoming to interracial dating, not that, you know, any of those allegations are allegedly, let's say allegedly, it may have been hard for him because he's got a world political view. Maybe he doesn't have a Killmonger political view, and maybe getting into that character made him question a lot of things, and maybe he had to do a lot of research because it might have not been something that he was familiar with. So yeah, maybe for him it was deep, you know. But the question then came up after that was with writing and acting, which is more submersive. I know for me, or consuming, demanding, emotional, taxing, whatever the hell you want to call it. I know for me, I love horror, but when I have to go deep horror, or like horror is a variety of things. You have gore porn where people are pulling guts out, the people is eating the guts. You see the head rip open, the head split open, and that's gory horror. Then you have Friday the 13th. You got action horror. You got slasher. May not be a lot of guts, but you know, oh shoot, the knife went into his eye, or he threw him down. That's horrific. And then you have the real deep Hellraiser, the Emily, what do you call it? Exorcist, Diary of Emily Rose. You got that deep horror that really wants to scare you. And for me as a writer, I've written, you know, the Dawn of the Dead zombie horrors and the Friday the 13th action horrors, but I also wrote, my first one second one was, it happened on Negro Mountain, and I was summoning Hellraiser. I was summoning, what do you call it? I was summoning Hellraiser and Amityville Horror, even Poltergeist, right? And that's scary, yo. For me to scare people, not horrify them, I have to scare myself first. I have to get into that character. I have to get into that world. It is immersive. I'm not playing the character, I'm creating the character. I'm creating the environment. I'm creating the world. I don't care, actors, I respect y'all, but it depends on the individual. I'm not going to say creating a character is more taxing emotionally than acting out a character and getting into a character. I'll say it depends on the person. How about that? All right. I know for me, it was fun, but it was very submersive. When I wrote Gold Digger Killer, I was venting. I was writing a female character, and it was very submersive. You understand? And I had to think like a woman, you know, as a scorned woman all the time while I was writing it. So that to me is very submersive. Negro Mountain, I'm writing that, I'm having nightmares. So while I'm thinking, even when I'm thinking of my screenplays, if it was a comic book, I got to think of something that will give the desired reaction. And if my reaction is to scare you, that I want to get from you, then I have to think of stuff that will scare you. And if I'm not comfortable with being scared, yo, you might say, well, then why are you writing it? sometimes the story calls and talks to you. There's a lot of reasons why I do horror films right now. I don't have a limitless budget, and science fiction and action adventure stuff, a lot of CGI sometimes, or a lot of running around. But I am inspired, and I will revisit it. These fan fiction movies are really inspiring. So if I can get something on the fan fiction level, I'm gonna do it. Anyway, just want to kind of throw that out to you. That's my blog for today. I do think, I just wanted to talk to you about my writing. I got a few people that I want to talk to today and tell them my stories. So that's how I do it. Anyway, so I can write the script next week. All right, touch base with you later. Boom, we out.